You saw me bake the pie. Now I'm going to make this lovely rump roast. Now normally I don't buy beef from the store because I don't trust beef from the store. But this is not just any store. If you're ever in Colborne, Ontario, go to the Sunnyside Meat Market on Percy Street, local provincial meat. Now this is a rump roast, and what I'm going to do is I've got my oven set for 325 degrees, and I'm going to, what I have in the bottom of here is just hot butter, and I am going to sear this roast. Now what this does is you got to be really quick because you don't want your butter to burn, but you want the pan to be hot. But what this does is this seals in the juice. So you're just basically going to fry it. When you sear the meat on both sides, it seals in the juice. Alright, so we're just going to kind of roll this around. Now I'm a huge fan of cast iron. I'm going to turn this back up a little bit now that I've got the meat in here cooling the pan down. So I've put in maybe a half a stick of butter, and I'm just browning it on both sides and then on the sides. And this locks in and makes for a much juicier piece of meat. This is a beautiful piece of meat, and I don't know how they can afford to do it, but this roast was only $19. And when you go to the grocery store, I'm going to say this roast about 4 pounds, eh, Mom? Yeah, it's at least 4 pounds, maybe even 5. And if you bought this at a grocery store, you wouldn't know where it came from. You wouldn't know how many times it changed hands before it got, but not this one. Anyway, I can't say enough about buying local meat from a family butcher shop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this burner off, and I'm going to add a little tiny bit of water, just a little bit, and not over the meat, just in the bottom of the pan. I'm going to sprinkle on a little bit of my home dehydrated home ground garlic. Oh my gosh, I wish you could smell that. And I'm going to put some pepper on this. I'm going to pop the lid on this, and we're going to pop this in the oven at 325 degrees. Then I'm going to peel some carrots and some potatoes and an onion and pop these in with it in a little bit. So we'll be back. You guys should smell this. Now there's lots of nice drippings in the bottom. So now I'm just going to start popping some carrots and potatoes all around this roast. Now we're just going to pop this back in the oven and let that roast, and there's going to be juice from the vegetables, which is going to make a wonderful gravy. Anyway, we're going to pop this back in the oven. Before I take it out, I'm going to make Yorkshire pudding, and you're going to see a traditional Sunday dinner from my childhood. Now folks, this is the best I could do with my tripod, so I'm going to bring it over, my stuff over here. In here, this is my Dutch oven with the drippings in the bottom, and I'm going to take this jar and I'm just going to put a couple of heaping tablespoons of flour in it, and I'm going to add some cold water, and I'm just going to pop the lid on this and shake it. Once the drippings start heating up, I'm going to pour this flour water mixture in here, and I'm going to whisk it. Here we go. You can see it's sizzling. And we're just going to pour this right in here. Now you got to remember, folks, I put pepper in here and I put garlic in here, and I seared this puppy with butter. So we've got this on maximum in the stove, and we are just going to keep whisking this until it thickens. And when it does thicken, I'm going to add some of this bean water. And then you're getting vitamins not only from the meat, but from the vegetables as well. And remember, I roasted the carrots in here. I roasted the potatoes in here. It's thickening up just beautiful. And it's brown and rich. Now we can turn it off because cast iron retains its heat. And we are just going to add a little bit more bean water. Because real gravy, now come on folks, gravy in a pouch where you add water to or a couple of drippings from your roast. Next time you go to do anything instant, remember, read the ingredients. If you can't pronounce it or your grandmother wouldn't recognize the ingredients, don't bloody use it. Alright, we'll be back when this is on the table. Okay, I just want to pan in on the table here for our Sunday dinner, our traditional Sunday dinner. There is the roast beef Papa is carving and it's done to a turn. There's our roast carrots and potatoes and our Yorkshire pudding. And we'll be back when I've fixed up my mummy a plate. There, Mom's doing her plate and she's got her roast carrots. She's mashed up her roast potato. This is Yorkshire pudding, folks. And Mom's going to just pour some gravy on there. I put butter on it and then the gravy. Now, I'm sorry, you can't get gravy like that from a can. Well, you can, but it doesn't taste like this. And when I'm going to become famous when smell-o-vision happens. Anyway, folks, this recipe of Yorkshire pudding comes from Yorkshire, England. And they used to have a saying that he who eats the most pudding gets the most meat. And that was to encourage people to eat the Yorkshire pudding first, because what they would do is they would make these big slabs of Yorkshire pudding and they would serve you the Yorkshire pudding first because meat was dear, and when you had 5 or 6 big strapping sons or whatever that were going out to the fields every day and you had one roast, if you gave them the meat first, the roast would be gone and you would have nothing left over. So what they would do is they would cook the roast in the Yorkshire pudding and they would make the gravy. And as an appetizer, they would give you a big slab of Yorkshire pudding slathered in gravy. And by the time you got through your slab of Yorkshire pudding, you only had so much room for the meat. And it was a way of making the meat go farther. Anyway, just thought you'd be interested. Traditional Sunday supper from when I was a kid.